It was the middle of 2018. I was 23 and had driven back to Vermont to visit my folks and spend a couple weeks in the quiet of the countryside. While I was there, I had one thing I really wanted to do: go camping again. The house sits just outside the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, and when I still lived at home, I'd head out there all the time. Since moving away though, life got busy, and I hadn't set foot on a trail in over a year. There was one spot I'd been thinking about ever since I moved. Right before I left Vermont, I'd come across a post on an old exploration forum about an unmarked trail that supposedly led to a derelict lodge deep in the forest. It sounded like the kind of weird, off-grid adventure I'd always been into, and this trip felt like the perfect chance to finally check it out. That Monday morning, I packed up my gear, tossed it in the trunk, and headed out. The trailhead wasn't marked, just a barely visible path off a narrow two-lane road. It clearly wasn't official, more like a rough track beaten down by curious hikers over the years. Overgrown and tangled, it looked like no one had been through there in a while. It took me nearly 2 hours to reach the lodge. The terrain wasn't steep, but the undergrowth made it slow going. I came prepared to sleep inside the old building if it was structurally sound, but I brought a tent just in case. That turned out to be a smart call. The place looked like it had been abandoned for decades. Most of the roof had collapsed. Vines and moss had taken over the log walls, and the structure looked dangerously unstable. Still, the front door was hanging open, so I shined my light in and took a look around. The inside reeked of rot and damp wood. Broken beams and debris blocked most of the interior, and one hallway ended at a door that still seemed intact. But I didn't trust the floor enough to try reaching it. I backed out. With the sun starting to dip behind the trees, I cleared a spot about 200 feet from the lodge and set up my tent. By nightfall, the old building was hidden in the dark, swallowed by the trees. The sounds of the forest shifted to the soft thrum of crickets, and I fed small twigs into my campfire, watching the embers pop and dance while clouds drifted across the sky. Then I heard it, a loud creaking noise, like wood groaning under pressure. It lasted only a few seconds, but came from the exact direction of the lodge. I froze. Maybe it was just the wind shifting the old structure, or maybe something else. I waited in silence for about half an hour, but nothing else happened. Still, my curiosity wouldn't let it go. I told myself I wouldn't sleep unless I knew for sure what it was. I added more fuel to the fire, grabbed my lantern, and walked back toward the lodge. When I reached it, I immediately noticed something was off. The door. It was closed. I'd left it wide open earlier that day. Then I saw the scratches, long marks etched into the wood. They looked fresh, like claws, or maybe a knife. I couldn't tell if they were new or if I had just missed them before, but something about them gave me a bad feeling. I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. It felt like something was pushing back from the other side. My stomach dropped. I backed away and turned toward the forest, quickening my pace. It was then that I realized something else. My campfire, only a few hundred feet away, was no longer lighting up the trees. The forest was completely dark. I followed the barely visible trail until I found my tent. The fire was out, still smoking like someone had just snuffed it. I froze, slowly scanning the woods with my light. "Hello," I called out. Nothing. Then I heard it, a low, breathy laugh. It wasn't loud, but it was unmistakable. Someone laughing quietly, like they were trying to hold it in. I couldn't see anyone, but I knew with absolute certainty that I wasn't alone. Whoever they were watching me from the dark. I packed up in a frenzy, ditching anything non-essential and cramming the rest into my backpack. The laughing came again, closer this time. Soft, unhinged, like whoever it was wasn't, right in the head. Lantern in hand, I rushed down the trail, my feet snagging on roots and brush. I kept glancing over my shoulder, sure I'd see someone step out from the trees, but they never did. I just kept hearing that damn laugh. Always, just far enough to stay hidden. Eventually, I made it back to my car, breathless and shaking. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and peeled out onto the road, not daring to stop until I was back in town. It's been 7 years, and I still think about that night more often than I care to admit. I don't know who or what was out there in the woods near that lodge. I don't know if they live there or just wait for people like me. But I know this: I'll never go back. And if you find that trail, I suggest you don't either.